Let's catch up on some of the Trump news over the last 24 hours. First, let's start with the Stormy Daniels case, another one of the cases in the series of cases opened against Trump that is continuing to fall apart. Testimonies continue tomorrow, Thursday. But today we had this great update here. A lot of you may have seen the videos. Travis for Trump wrote, Michael Cohen's attorney, Robert Costello, just testified to Congress that Michael Cohen told him that he didn't even believe Stormy Daniels' story and only paid her off to save Trump and his family embarrassment. He writes that this completely blows up the entire case in Manhattan. Costello said that Cohen was becoming increasingly agitated at not being invited to work in Washington. What will Cohen and the Manhattan DA do now? It's clear now that Cohen and Daniels extorted the President of the United States with help from the U.S. government. Travis for Trump writes his opinion there on the story. So we'll have more tomorrow as this continues to unfold. And onward, I wanted to look at this post here, this clip from MSNBC, where they went out and they interviewed people and asked them how they felt about Trump and these cases. These are Trump supporters. Let's hear what they had to say.
Do each of you support Donald Trump?
I do.
Yes. Yes for all three of you? Yes. Has this trial changed your opinion, even caused you to waver or question that at all?
No, it's actually caused me to support him more. I just don't believe there's a coincidence that we have a trial happening in Atlanta. We have one happening in New York. So the question people are beginning to ask themselves, like I did, is like, why now?
It's pretty much everybody says they're picking on him. You know, people are tired of going after him, and you see it in so many areas. It's really not a big issue in the party. Actually, they're really making everybody mad, and they look at a big bully, and the government is the bully.
This is going to be your first time casting a ballot. What is it for you that drives your support of the former president?
I think always fighting. I mean, he's taken so much just defense from news and everything, but he still hasn't given up. He keeps fighting to do what's right.
I've talked to many people who formerly identified as a Democrat. They have changed their political persuasion to independent, and they are looking forward to voting for Trump. Wow. Because now they find something in common with a political candidate at that level.
When you say they find commonality, what is that commonality?
They have felt persecuted by the system of American injustice. And it's not a stretch for them to think that Trump may be a victim as well. People see that there's some kind of commonality between himself and maybe all the black men that have been incarcerated and the families that have been impacted by black male incarceration.
And many say many aren't even confident they'll have a guilty verdict. Pretty interesting that MSNBC is posting these interviews, I will say. They did throw in there, though, that people are becoming independents and then voting for Trump. I find that to be notable. What do you guys think about that? Independent rather than Republican? I don't know. But I think it's just an interesting fact that they threw out there. Let's go to Donald Trump's truth and see what we could catch up with over there. We have this post from a day ago where Trump says, quote, virtually every legal analyst and scholar said yesterday at the end of the day that there is no case and that this witch hunt should have never been brought and should be thrown out now. Why wasn't this hoax brought 7 years ago instead of in the middle of my winning campaign for president? Election interference. The problem is that this judge, Merchan, is totally compromised, conflicted, and corrupt, making big money off of this scam and its outcome, he goes on. Trump made some posts backing the blue. Trump backs the blue. There were some events in D.C. for police lately over the weekend and into this week. So we've got some back the blue stuff here. Oh, it was National Police Week. National Police Week. So that's that post. Donald Trump posted yesterday a bunch of quotes. And I think this is Trump sort of getting around not saying things himself by just quoting other people. So he quotes John McLaughlin here saying, quote, the voters are getting it. They don't like the idea that the courts are deciding the presidential election, talking about the court cases. He quotes Charlie Hurt, who said, quote, "The problem for Democrats is that extensive polling now shows that voters see through their scam and don't like what's going on. Watching 100,000 enthusiastic people gather along the boardwalk of a New Jersey beach to support former President Donald Trump on Saturday evening gives you some idea of how terrified Democrats are of Mr. Trump. Whatever happens, they cannot face him in a fair and honest election because they will lose. And they know it." Yeah, Trump had a huge rally. He quotes Jeff Zeleny from the CNN chief national affairs correspondent saying, quote, "As I talk to voters across the country in these battleground states, many of them aren't paying attention at all and are disgusted and sort of tired with this. The reason that President Biden is having problems is because of young voters of color, and inflation." Interesting here. Yeah, I think a lot of people, including myself, maybe you, are sick of all of this news and the nonsense and what seems to be, a lot of lawsuits at a very peculiar time against Trump, etc. And nothing's sticking at all. Even people that are anti-Trump, they might be saying, "Hey, this is like the 100th time we've heard Trump's going to be arrested. Trump's going down. This is going to be it. Blah blah blah." Nothing's happening. There's nothing. So people are sick of it and still voting for Trump in large part. Trump quoted Byron York, quote, "For months, Democrats had hoped that the specter of Trump on trial would cut into the former president's support. Now we are in the 5th week of the trial with wall-to-wall media coverage, and it appears to have not affected Trump's support as all." He goes on. And Trump just continues all these pro-Trump quotes, and I assume things that Trump considers to be truthful, instead of just saying it himself. I don't know if he can without violating gag orders, etc. Here is a quote that Trump posted from Brett Tolman. Quote, "Gag order is a tool utilized to protect defendant, rarely if ever applied to one side. Never seen it applied to defendant themselves. You have a constitutional problem without ability to say anything about own case." Wow. Onward here. Trump posted some videos. Here's Trump endorsements. Trump endorsing Jim Justice, who won. Congratulations to Big Jim Justice. Here is Trump on Joe Biden. I guess they are going to be debating 2 times this year. Trump agreed to let Biden kind of decide on how this will go, and Trump wrote this: "Crooked Joe Biden is the worst debater I have ever faced. He can't put 2 sentences together. Crooked is also the worst president in the history of the United States by far. It's time for a debate so that he can explain to the American people his highly destructive open border policy, new and ridiculous EV mandates, the allowance of crushing inflation, high taxes, and his really weak foreign policy, which is allowing the world to catch on fire. I am ready and willing to debate Crooked Joe at the 2 proposed times in June and September. I would strongly recommend more than 2 debates, and, for excitement purposes, a very large venue. Although Biden is supposedly afraid of crowds, that's only because he doesn't get them. Just tell me when, I'll be there. Let's get ready to rumble," Trump says. And that was May 15th, early this morning, May 15th. Wow, yeah, so we're getting... Apparently, as of now, it's scheduled to have debates. Crooked Joe, Trump calls him, and Donald Trump. Trump on the debates again. He says, "It's my great honor to accept the CNN debate against Crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States, and a true threat to democracy on June 27th. Likewise, I accept the ABC News debate against Crooked Joe on September 10th. Thank you, Donald J. Trump." Wow. Dre Fanzer put out this meme of, he says, Joe Biden training for the debates against Trump, just as a funny meme going around out there, and it's pretty hilarious, let's face it. Just being funny, making light of a crazy situation. Let's see what else Trump had to say as of late. Here's Trump. Biden price hikes are killing the American dream.
It was just announced last month, inflation surged once again and surged very badly. Joe Biden's inflation tax continues to take away 30 to 50% of every dollar you have. It's a 50% tax. That's what it is. Joe Biden, without any tax hikes, which he's going to give the biggest ever, has already tax hiked you 50%. It's like a sales tax, but much bigger, more painful, and more destructive, because all of the money goes to pay for Joe Biden's wasteful inflation spending like the Green New scam. And that's what it is. It's a scam. Not one thing is cheaper under Crooked Joe's: food, gasoline, cars, trucks, rent, and mortgages. They're all through the roof. The whole country's going to hell because of this guy. He's got a 50% tax, and nobody ever talks about it, and nobody wants to hear about it, but that's what it is. It's called an inflation tax. Biden's price hikes are killing the American dream. Perhaps most tragically of all, the 50% Biden inflation tax hits working Americans and young Americans the hardest. It also hits African Americans and Hispanic Americans like as hard as they've ever been hit. It's a massive wealth confiscation from the people who need it most, and from people also that produce our jobs. Crooked Joe and his cronies are getting rich while you're struggling to get by. If you're a young person, Joe Biden has completely pulled the rug out from under you. There is no longer an American dream. He's made it impossible for you to save to buy a house or to have a wedding, while simultaneously driving up the price of everything for which you want to save. The month I left office, the 30-year mortgage rate was 2.65%. Now it's almost 8%. Joe Biden is the worst president for young people in American history. The Biden inflation tax is also crushing corner stores, restaurants, and small businesses of all kinds, including those owned by millions and millions of African Americans and Hispanic Americans. They're the ones that are taking this the hardest. They're the ones that have just told Joe Biden, we don't want you anymore. Look at the poll numbers. The Hispanic Americans, African Americans don't want Joe Biden anymore. He's destroying their dream. One thing is very clear. Whether you're young or old, black or white, you can't afford 4 more years of crooked Joe Biden, the worst ever. I will end this nightmare, and we will once again have the greatest economy in history, the history of the world. Thank you.
So I think a lot of young people can relate to this, and there was polls coming out and stuff that the minority voters are flocking over to Trump, probably because it's hard to ignore how worse off people are now than they were under Trump. So Trump tweeted this a few hours ago, or truthed this a few hours ago. Since crooked Joe Biden took office, gasoline plus 56%, airfare plus 38%, electricity plus 29%, groceries plus 21%. My goodness. And also this, let's see. So you can see here, 42% Biden, 49% Trump in Arizona. In Georgia, 39% Biden, 49% Trump. In Michigan, 42% Biden, 49% Trump. Pennsylvania, 44% Biden, 47% Trump. Just polls. We can argue polls all day.
Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States, and it's not even close, caused all of these ridiculous trials that are going on right now having to do with your president. It's a witch hunt, the likes of which this country has never seen before. It's election interference, and the people of our country are not standing for it. Thank you very much.
A very short and to the point statement from Trump there. Let's see what happened last time there was a debate with Trump.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
We want to remind the audience to please not talk out loud. Please do not applaud. You're just wasting time.
So that was a historical moment there. Actually, that's aired ABC, I suppose. But a CNN moderator at a debate nonetheless. Anyway, I guess one of the stipulations that Biden and his team have put forward for these debates is that Trump's mic is muted. they're controlling the mute on his mic. So we might see some. It's going to be so obvious if they try to pull anything. I think that's why Trump's is so eager to accept any debate, because everyone's going to be watching very closely. So if they try to do anything, it's going to be in front of everybody's face. And people aren't stupid. We're not stupid. We've known the truth for years, from the very beginning. A lot of people, at least. So I'm excited for these debates. Hopefully we have some memorable moments like that one. Hopefully. Also, Trump put this out.
Our freedom. Hear these words: we will not comply.
An interesting statement by him, and also from Trump Jr., saying the same thing. We will not comply, and calling out election interference again, and all this stuff. So all this is unfolding now. We're going to have more developing in just 12 plus hours, 12 hours or so. So tomorrow on the 16th, and we'll stay on top of it and see what happens, everybody. With that, take care. God bless. Godspeed.